to us. Yeah. So what are we gonna do? What are some options? How do we want to move forward? What do we want to tell them we want to do with this aina? If it's healing it, keeping it as is, okay, what does that look like? What are our demands, specific demands that need to happen before? And then how are we going to heal, help this aina to heal? Right? Some things to consider is it wasn't just sand before, yeah? So we would need to put something, or we can risk them coming back saying it's unsafe. Yeah, we would need to cover somehow. What would that be? And so Hulali has mentioned, okay, the plants before the koahaole came, before all of that. Okay, let's start talking about that if that is what this community wants. Aminekwa, you had?
I have a question. Yeah, well, I think you kind of just answered it, but my question was just thinking about, so if we're going to ask for ownership back for the aina, for Waimānalo to have this space back, then kind of I was wondering, why do we even need to tell them what we're going to do with it?
It's part of the process. So they want to see that Waimānalo is a united community. Yeah. If they see that we're continuously going to be a divided community, that's their in. Yeah. So and it's very junk that we need to do this for our own aina, but we're in a space and time now where we need to prove that we Hawaii have a plan for Hawaii. Yeah. And so, yeah.
Something just to keep in mind, they obviously suck at spending money. If you work for the government, you get your stipend. If you don't spend it all, then they revoke it from you. So their job is to develop our space. And so if we allow it to be in their hands, they will probably forever try to develop it. So there was talk about 2020 that the land, the lease is up and they have to try to renew it. I think something that would be really challenging, but worth it, would be for us to take it back. But the responsibility of us taking care of it would be a lot, because you have to commit and someone has to take care of it and stuff. On the note about bringing back native species, she said that it wasn't just sand before, there was soil and other stuff. For my farm and what we do with our farm is we use horse manure, and there are plenty of people that feed their horses organic, super good stuff. They spend way too much money on their food, and we could definitely use horse manure and combine it with the soil. I don't know exactly how to affect it, but I mean, as far as if you want to grow stuff, that'd be super beneficial. And I don't know the plants either, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who know the plants, like you said, that they knew what was here before us, and they could bring that in and just restore soil health and let it grow on its own.
I really wish I knew what this place looked like 1,000 years ago. And if anybody knows, I'd really like to be able to sit down and receive their manao about that. Because this is, behind here is what it looks like now. And restoring it is that. And what we've got there are pioneer species. The koahaole and the ironwood, well, at least the koahaole and the ironwood, they fix nitrogen with an association, a symbiotic association with soil bacteria. Different ones for each plant, but that's why they're here, and that's why this field is just sprouting back, because of all the fertility that rained on it for I don't know how long since this koahaole and casuarina forest got established. So the native plants, I see naupaka over here. A naupaka will grow almost anywhere. And if you look down through the beach lots, you find ulu and some other plants. And Barb Mayer, who isn't here now, she's out of town, she knows a lot about plants, and she lives right over there and has a lot of native plants in her yard. So there's whatever, I don't think we can know what this place looked like when the first Polynesians came here. But we know plants plants that are native species that do live in this area on this same type of soil. So that's what I had to say.
Okay, so with all of that in mind, what is our first recommendation? Throw it out there.
To get them in here and get out.
Get them in here and get out. Specifically, so if we look at that area, there's the mountains, there's the sand, there's the items that were brought in, there's the gravel road that they put in there. Yeah. So what are we asking them to get out? Everything, the gravel. Take out the gravel. I hear people saying take out the pipes.
Yes.
And the big piles of whatever they dump down on the other side.
Put it in writing that the master plan is killed.
Yes. Yes. All of it. All of it.
The entire master plan is killed. Okay. Remove the pipes.
Yes.
Remove the gravel.
All of it.
Water pipes.
Reverse the process.
Reverse the process. So everything you did,
Do it back.
take it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They already have a plan.
We already have decided to do it backwards.
Got it. And then once they do that, then what? Yes, Auntie.
We can get our community involved. I mean, community park too. How many of them to Waimānalo? How can we get them to come the day they start again? I mean, can we go house to house? Give
Yeah.
them
I was gonna say
something,
that.
You know, I know they're for this too,
Yeah.
but you know, coming here is, I don't know.
Yeah. And there's a lot of hooky within the community to come to this space for many different reasons, right? Part of it is they don't see anything happening. Yeah. And so when that happens, not if, but when we get them to take it all back, then are we committed to be those people who hit the pavement, go house to house, get people involved, let them know that we are going to do a rededication of this space to Waimānalo?
Yep.
Is that what it is? Is it a rededication to Waimānalo? Yeah? The heart of Te Fiti has been taken away. We're returning it? Sorry, I needed some smiles. I had some pretty intense faces.
What am I? I'm supposed to be recording and neutral. But I just have on Hunānāniho. It's not really mine, actually. I was talking to my Uncle Randy. Who, my mom grew up here. My grandparents' homestead is on the highway. And I was talking to my Uncle Randy, who doesn't live on this island anymore. And he was a little bit confused because to him, in his memory, from his own lands and experience, the bye-bye of Sherwoods for him was from the sand Makai. And his memories of all the forested, wooded areas is more negative. Even when my mom and her cousins and her siblings talk, it's kind of like that generation's memory of the Sherwood forest, which is like the not so pono things that were happening in the area. And they don't really have a context of prior to that. And I think that one of the struggles that the community is having is like what lens they're looking from. And different generations or different backgrounds of education have different lenses from which they're feeling like is most important. And so when this is kind of like a similar like-minded group of people here, right? Like all sort of on the same page already. So how is this conversation any different than what happened 10 years ago when they were a similar like-minded group of people that wanted something good for the community? It doesn't seem different to me. Just because I may or may not agree with what everyone is saying, it doesn't mean that it represents all the lenses and all the perspectives of the entire community. And when my uncle was talking to me about his feelings about this part of Sherwoods, he didn't have any feeling to want to protect it. He didn't have any knowledge or understanding of why he should be passionate about making sure that over here is preserved and protected and restored to whatever natural state that everyone is kind of fighting for. And so it's not a bad thing, but I think it's really important for all of us to be aware that all of us have different experiences and lenses and may not all necessarily understand that perspective, and like everybody is thinking that nobody is coming to the table wanting to harm the community. Nobody was coming with the idea to do something bad for the community. They all thought it was something good, but it was just a different idea about what good meant. So I think that moving forward, when we're trying to craft this statement or this plan or this mana'o about what Waimānalo wants, it's really important to just recognize that we all sitting here underneath this tent are probably very like-minded, and that whatever we say, we gotta be able to make it inspire some kind of passion or pilina with other people that don't necessarily think like us, but want good things for their community. How we say it and like what kinds of things we say is gonna be the difference between whether or not other people who aren't sitting here under this tent go like, yeah, I like that. I really want that too. Or I don't really give about that. Like, I don't give a rat's about that.
Would you be willing to touch on, like, so we understand his perspective of why he didn't have a positive experience? Like, what exactly was his, like, negative, why was it negative for him? Like,
this place is called Sherwoods Forest because it was like a hub of criminal activity.
yeah, no, okay.
And so
that's what I thought. No, but
yeah.
I was curious because, like, you didn't specify that, so I didn't know what you meant.
it was mostly those kind of memories. Like, they have a lot of really crazy stories that they laugh about now, that they think is really funny. But to say, like, put it back how it was. Some people are thinking, like, I don't want that in my community. Like, I don't want that. So, like, put it back how it was. I think gotta be really specific about what that means.
I just wanted to address a couple issues. For me, I look at this project as one major issue that we're facing in this community. The city and the state have allotted at least estimate upwards of $100 million to improve the infrastructure, and that's solely to promote and meet the requirements for development. We already have 100 new homes in Waimānalo within the last 8 years, I think it's been. We're slated for another 31-acre egg lots, and people have been given notice to, they have 12 months to get off their land, so more homes can be built, or egg lots. And part of the next phase of that is another 160 plus homes, which means they need to improve our electricity, they need to improve our water, they need to improve our roads. We have a $25 million project. My concern, I know we're here just to talk about this park, but this park is a major component to the federal guidelines and requirements for green space and development. And I have to tell you, I'm really torn by this right now. There's going to be a lot of acquisitions happening, a lot of land swapping between DHHL, the city, and the state in the next couple of years in order to fulfill those goals of development. My concern is I want more beneficiary homes more than anything. I don't want to interrupt that process, but I don't want to continuously have to sacrifice spaces when, for instance, we have the military sitting down here on this invaluable land, and we have the polo fields being leased out, and we have all this other stuff. We have Sea Life Park has just announced a major expansion in their park up there. So there are upwards hundreds and hundreds of $1 million that are being focused on our community right now, and not just Sherwoods. So I'm finding it really difficult to focus only on this without looking at the big picture of what other people have planned for this community. So I just want people to be aware of that when we're making decisions. If we open it up and develop it to any extent, they're going to demand that we have requirements. To acquire this would be an enormous task. I'm not saying it's impossible, but to do that would be at a cost of other developments that they want to do. So I'm really on the fence. I want it to stay the same. I want the community to be involved in it, to maintain it, to have some control over it, but I don't want to have that affect beneficiary homes.
I saw some hands up over here. Are they still up or are they down now? Okay. Kevin, you have something else? It's okay. Oh, here. Yeah.
Mama, I just wanted to see about removing everything. I know that was stated earlier, and that we just wanted to remind that we think about everything that we remove. And maybe some of it would be useful, and we wouldn't have to purchase it later, like gravel or stuff like that.
I often think about what those handful of people who came up with the master plan were thinking. And as the lady pointed out, they had in mind a good for Waimānalo, but that involved development. And I think most of us are saying no development. We don't want to have a lot of development. We don't want urbanization. We don't want Honolulu to come here. We don't want to be Kailua. And we want Waimānalo to be Waimānalo, to be country, and to have some self-determination and not just get rolled over by Honolulu. So also those people that sat down 12 years ago or so, they were given the ticket to spend a lot of money. Hey folks, there's $1 million of project for you. Think up what to do with it. And so that was some kind of ego trip that they were on to say, oh, we can do good for Waimānalo and spend all this money on our community. But we don't want the money anymore. And we don't want the athletic part. So that's what I was wondering about those folks and what they were thinking at the time.
Can I say something?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I remember when first we were discussing, I was at a couple of the meetings. We were told that if we didn't have walking trails and then, preserve the campsite, and then they think they wanted to do a pavilion, and they wanted to do some other things. I personally didn't really look and pay attention to the sports field, but we were given the choice, or they were saying that if we didn't agree on something for this space, the alternatives could be, or would probably be, development. And they were using words like condos, they were using words like shopping centers. So that's something to think about as we try to make, or those who try to make their argument that leaving it as is.
Mahalo for sharing that. One more, and then I'd like us to synthesize.
I know what you're saying about the development part, where they're saying, okay, we need to develop this to give beneficiaries this. My fear is, from what I've seen so far, is it starts off with a very good intention. Hey, we're going to give you guys a place to live. We're going to give you this. Here's a couple homes to keep you happy. And then a swap is done. and then it's no longer guaranteed. So I guess part would be is like, okay, if you're going to develop it, is there any way you can put it in, stamp it with a seal saying no? That's my fear, is you give this to get that, but you're not even guaranteed that. That's where my fear is with this whole thing.
Before I go, because I got the 15-minute call. What I'm hearing from the group as a whole is no new development. Malama what we have, ground what we already have to this place and the needs of Waimānalo, right? So I heard we have the buildings over there, and maybe they're not functioning at their best for what Waimānalo needs. And so let's look at maybe sprucing those up and rebuilding them within the spaces that are already zoned, that have already been concreted and all of that, to serve functions that fulfill the needs of Waimānalo that are coming up. That's what I'm hearing. Always it's been Azevedo, it's always been the district park, right? Rebuilding, fixing, repurposing all of those spaces to fulfill these asks that are coming up. That's what I'm hearing. No new development is one of the biggest messages that came out of all of your folks' mana'o. And then another thing that I'm hearing here is the importance, which we've been saying all along, of making sure that all voices are at the table, right? So when I asked earlier, once we tell them how it's out, get everything out, and then we have whatever it may be, whether it's a rededication of the space, whatever the plan is, and I asked everybody, are we the people who are going to go out into the community? What I didn't get to finish with is, with the notion in mind that it is our kuleana to bring everybody to the table. We're not going to the community to say, hey, come because we are doing this, right? That first step, once this is cleared, is going to the community, utilizing our pilina with one another, our relationships with one another, to say, hey, we got them to take out the stuff, and no matter what side of the issue you're on, we want to have the community come together to plan the next steps. Can you join me? Right? Because it's one thing for Wai Ale Ale and myself and Anu to go out and invite people, but you see who showed up. Because it's all about those personal relationships. Yeah, and we have our personal relationships, but I don't know everybody in Waimānalo. But between all of us, if we bring 5 people hand in hand, that's that much more than we already have. Yeah. So when we're talking about making sure that the uncles of the world who see this as a negative space are brought to the table so they can be shown the possibilities, it's all about the communication that we're having with one another. I see faces in this hui that are very connected to some of those initial 12, right? But we don't know what we're asking of them yet. So what are we asking everybody? After this all gets taken out, what is our ask of the community? To do what? To come together for what? Kulali, do you still have something?
Well, I was just wanting to address what Tracy brought up about the development and about beneficiaries. And personally, this is just a personal thing. As a Kanaka Maoli, I would never take a house knowing that Iwi Kupuna was disturbed in order for me to have a house. Even if it's not in the same vicinity, but if this is something that they need in order to build the 30 homes or 200 homes or even 1,000 homes, I don't think any Kanaka should take a house knowing that it was at this cost, knowing that our Iwi Kupuna was disturbed in order for them to have a hale. And like she pointed out, there's so many other spaces, and I think we just played right into their hands again. That's how I feel. I feel like we've just been swindled one more time. Like, okay, well, if you guys want this hale, we need to build this park first. I feel like we just got screwed again. But I mean, I knew this from before, and Tracy and I were talking the other day, that when I first saw the master plan about 5 years ago, it actually included construction of homes all through here. So from here all the way to the kai was actually supposed to be condos. And guess what? Those condos wasn't for Kanaka. They were just homes that they were going to build here. It had nothing to do with Kanaka Maoli. It had nothing to do with Hawaii. It had nothing to do with beneficiaries. But houses were going to go up on beneficiary land again, and we weren't going to be the ones to get them. So I feel like now that they want to tell us that, you know, we're going to develop here, there's going to be all these land swaps, we want to build, you know, upwards of almost 200 homes or so, but then this needs to be built first. I think that, like, really, we just need to put our foot down already and say, no, it's done. I'm not going to take a home knowing that Ibi Kupuna had to be disturbed for me to have that home. I'm not going to carry that, Kuleana. But like I said, that's my own personal opinion. Do I want a home here in Waimānalo? Heck yeah, I would love to be on the list over here. But like Lulu said, the land swap hasn't even happened yet. This is all proposals. These things have to happen first in order for these things to happen. But I'm going to just get back down to the bottom line. Like I said, I missed the 2 first meetings because I was here holding space so that everybody else could go to the meeting. So I don't know if this question was asked yet. I still want to see the deed. Because the last time I heard, city and county and state were both claiming title to this land. So before we even continue talking about who's going to do this or who's going to do that, I want to see the title. I want to see the deeds. I want to see the land swaps. Because I follow the paper trail. I follow the paper trail from the Cummings all the way back to the early 1900s. I want to know if they know who owns the land, because apparently they don't. City and county is claiming the land. The state is claiming the land. Federal is claiming the land. So who owns the land? Before anything else goes further, I want proof of who owns the land. Yeah, because it was going from DHHL to DLNR to back and forth all over the place. So I want to know, before they even make us come up with an answer, can we just get a basic question answered? Who owns the land? I want to see the paperwork. I want to see the documents that you own the land. Until that comes up, all of this is illegal. Who owns the land? This road was, I was telling my Ale the other night when we were talking, or the other day, yeah? When we were talking about the daughter's arraignment and all this, I told her, I have a question though. How were you arrested for obstructing a road that was illegally built? Let me see your permits for that. Everything that's here after 73 has been illegally built. So what? I still just want that basic question. Everybody's mana'o is so amazing, but we need to get that answer. Who owns the land? And when we find that out, then we start talking. Then we start talking about where we go from here. Because even if to me, I feel like if we do this, we're falling into a trap. We could be participating in illegal activity as well. We could be participating in illegal development. Is the National Historic Registry a part of this conversation? Because that's one of the first people that we have to talk to about what's going down. Do they know that we're having these meetings? Probably not. But it's not necessary because we're not really actually doing anything. We're just, we're just talking story and all this stuff. But I think that we really need to have that question answered. I want that in writing. I want that signed, sealed, stamped. I want that to be official to say who owns the land. Sorry, I went off on a rant there. My bad.
I certainly want to say something.
Sorry, I just wanted to say the people that I guess I've spoken to that didn't know what was going on over here, I think a lot of it has been like the larger community, because like in the church that I go to, St. George, a lot of people don't know what's going on. All they know is that historically from Sherwoods, they didn't like the crime and the drug use that was going on here. So the opinion about a project, they're like, I don't care what goes up, so long as the crime and drugs. So that's where the issue, I think, gets stuck. And then a lot of the other people just don't know what's going on. So I think it's really important to get all of Waimānalo, because I don't think everybody's on the same page.
Yeah. So while you're passing it that way, some things to consider: if it isn't foot traffic going house to house, the other option is mail outs. I'm going to tell you right now, mail out to all of the houses here in Waimānalo can be upwards of $15,000 just to send a postcard. Yeah. So it depends on how we're doing it, what we're looking at sending, right? And there's ways around it, but it isn't cheap. And I'm not saying that to discourage us, but I want us to be realistic. That if all of us sitting here, which is 20, a little bit less than 30 people are saying, yes, this is what we want to do, and I'm going to look at your video later, and when it's time to go to everyone's house, I'm going to call you guys all up and say, remember you said you're ready, it's time. Yeah, we're walking house to house, and we need to be committed to that and makau for that, right? Because the question keeps coming up, where's the money? How come somebody kind of give us the money? If we're going back to what Hulali was saying, our kupuna never had water, our kupuna never had money, they had pilina, they had relationships, and that's really all we can go off of now. Yeah, we're fighting the city, we're fighting the state. Our strongest tool are the pilina that we have with one another. Yeah, so we really need to be makau for that. And if we're stopping any hana after the takeaway and the find out whose land and all of that is, we still need to be having conversations to make sure that everybody is on the same page as to, okay, what's next. Don't necessarily have to agree, but we still know where we've come from and where we're at now. So the uncles and the church members and all of that who aren't aware of it now can make an informed decision on whether or not they want a seat at that table.
Aloha. I want our people, the Kanaka Maoli, to know who they are. And it begins with the Queen's story. It's that simple. Hawaii's story by Hawaii's Queen. She did nothing wrong. No treaty, no law, no land, no TNT, no Sherwood forest, no nothing. We get our Kanaka together, and for those that wish to continue to live here in Hawaii, get with the program and humble yourself and understand the truth of this land. This is Kingdom of Akua. This is not the pimpdom of the USA. We are not part of their slaves and whores. Understand that. And we know who's playing on both sides of the fence. All those that are with their PhDs, that's inclusive of the kapu that I want kapu on. Slaves, whores, and PhDs. You have been designed and created by the system that continues to fester here in our part of the world. It's a no-brainer. We're the kingdom of God. No one's going to screw around with those with the koko. It's a done deal. I've been up there at Mauna Kea for the last 3 months, being forced to come back to this island for one of their fake court situations. It's all fake. Nothing's real about it. Now, for us to know the truth and go in there and be who Akua expects us to be, it's a done deal. And also, as I said the last time, a couple weeks back, we really all need to have the same kingdom IDs. Anytime you present anything that's U.S., guess what? You're part of the contract done with the corporations. They're nothing but corporations. We need to stand strong, understand who we are, and it begins with the Queen's story. Don't let anybody say otherwise to that. We are for those that are absolutely pono and know that you don't need to be allegedly educated by the oppressors that have arrived here. Understand who we are. We're truly God's most special keiki. Yeah? And so everyone needs to get with the program and understand that. And especially those that have overstayed their welcome, actually, because the second part of aloha, time to aloha, because that day's coming. Yeah? That's what I have to say. Mahalo.
You know, I think we're at an opportune time because it's, you know, this fake elections, talking about the fake states. But it appears to me that there's been a little bit of flexibility because Mr. Caldwell wants to run for governor. I think coming up with a simple plan and presenting it right away will really tell us if he's sincere or if he's faking it again. Because to go through so much work and only be told, no, you can't do it. I know that there is not that we are capable. We've already shown that. I think communicating this to the community, we all have a kuleana for that. If you're in church, have the pastor announce it. We're going to have neighborhood board meeting. Do we want this on public record that the whole community has been notified? But what we need is substance. We have to have at least 3 points of what we're going to do to, you know, bring their interest. And I think that's what we're trying to do today, is simplify that. But to have no plan is also another way that we set ourselves up, because then he's going to say, we're just going to bulldoze again because you guys don't even know what you're doing. So getting back to what we have summarized as far as keeping the space the way it is, and you know, not worrying about any development, it's all good. We've had really great ideas, but now to bring it together, because I think the proof's going to be in the pudding, how he responds, and meaning if the plan is even accepted. And yeah, we want to protect ourselves from not being utilized, because the reality is there are some people that live in Waimānalo that love gentrification, and we kind of know who those people are, because I'm just gonna be blunt, they're buying all those big ag lots in the back there. And when it comes to flooding, nobody cared about flooding before in Waimānalo, yeah? But gentrification cares about flooding, because the people with a lot of money want to see it completely modernized. That's why they're only planting 2 or 3, you know, native or indigenous plants to fulfill that small little requirement. But we go back there and we know what they're doing. So you know what? We gotta just have the whole community be maka'ala on our earnest and what we want to do, and be honest with them. But I think we're gonna really find when we present the plan just how honest the system, which has always disappointed us, is. I don't want to be negative, but I also want to be smart in a simple way where it's not really costing us a lot, you know.
So when we go around door to door, then we would want to be educating them, because a lot of people don't know. We want to be asking what they think.
No, it's really just asking them, as your friend, as your ohana, join me at the table. Yeah. We don't want anybody to have any sort of responsibility of delivering the mo'olelo, because that's how we know they're gonna have 5,000 different mo'olelo, right? We actually are asking that you don't deliver any mo'olelo, that you don't pick a side, that you just say, hey, this happened, and now we want to have a community conversation. As my ohana, as my friend, please join me in the conversation. That's it.
Good. It's going to be almost like no vote, no grumble.
Johan, I just wanted to say that it's one thing for us to know who we are. It's one thing to know who we are. It's what we will do. It's how we do what we do that will make the difference in our lives today, presently, and tomorrow. You know, at the second meeting, Kalani Kalima brought up the fact that the leases for our beaches is going to be coming up in 2020 and by 2022. So take that into consideration, you know, because Kanakas like live on the beach too. You know, you don't like just be living on Mauka, you know. You want to live on the beach too. And so the point I'm making here is that as we look at Hunānāniho, it is our hope that it will help us as a community, as a whole, to stop whatever development or ideas people have in coming to Waimānalo. That's our stronghold. It's not whether or not a paper plan is going to make it happen or not make it happen. It's whether or not we as a community will say, no, you will need to come to the table and talk with us. Unless you talk with us, it cannot happen. It will not go forward. We will not support it. You know, and I think that's something that, you know, our queen will show us. She was steadfast. She was amaukoleo. Everything was within her. And I'm sure she was suffering. She was crying. She was going through a lot. We may not know all the answers, but I can tell you something. You know, with just the 25 of us or less than 30 of us, we can go to become 300 or 3,000 in our community. You know, let's not worry about, oh, how are we going to get the word out? Because we don't even get the plan done. You know, that going to come as we continue to meet and discuss. To try and put everything on the people now, you know, to me, is needlessly right now. Let's just talk about what we need to talk about, knowing that there are other factors that are happening in our community. So, we will end with this. Let's do our pulling.